even though it's almost afternoon time. It's Saturdays. So we're going to do a little bit of talking about some different things today. We're going to talk about some news stuff happening in Los Angeles. We're going to talk about some millennial moment stuff, some stuff that has to do with like millennials. Like for instance, we're going to be doing a little segment on Limp Bizkit. I don't know if you ever heard of him before. He is a like a kind of like a new rule, like crossover alternative rock kind of hip hop rapper. We're going to do some talking about Jerry Rice for those older millennials out there who were watching football back in the 90s. And man, this chair, man, I hate this squeaky chair. It's so squeaky. You got to get a new one. Anyways, and then we're also going to talk about some SummerSlam probably. SummerSlam 1992 had a really great match. It was in Wembley over there in London. So they had a match featuring Bret Hart and Daveyboy Smith, which was a really good match, especially for that time, very technically sound. And I'm just going to do a review on that match, right? Because here at Millennial Nation Worldwide, I want to try and cover things from all aspects of entertainment, right? Mostly primarily sports, but also entertainment as far as television, TV, movies, and stuff like that, right? So wrestling is one of those good sports entertainment moments where you can kind of take a moment and just kind of sit back and kind of let your mind drift, as you listen to something in the background. Anyways, to start off with the Lakers, man, I wanted to get some Laker news out there because the Los Angeles Lakers are still in talks of being sold to Disney. It hasn't happened yet. So we're going to see what happens with that. They were talking about I don't know, about a week ago, Kushner and Bob Iger getting together, putting together some money and buying a huge percentage of the Los Angeles Lakers. And apparently they were buying the percentage of the Lakers from Mark Walters. And then, of course, Mark Walters is the one who made the deal with Jeanie Buss last year to buy the Lakers. He bought the Lakers for, what was it, $10 billion last year. $10 billion. So I'm not cool with that because that's a lot of money for a sports team. But at the same time, I kind of get it. It's a lot of money, though. I didn't think that the Lakers were going to be sold. It kind of sucks that the Lakers are sold, but Jeanie Buss, she's not trying to let go of this team at all, man. She's going to hold on with everything she got. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's bringing the lawyers into it. It's funny too, because like her brothers and her sisters and stuff, they want to sell, man. They want that money. They want that payout. And they just, Jeanie Buss is just like, nah, it's not going down like that, right? We're going to ride this thing out to the end. And that's exactly what she's doing. Like the deal that they have is weird. Apparently, out of the 6 siblings that they have, one of them has majority control. So even if they got together and had like 5 out of the 6 siblings say, hey, we're going to sell the Lakers so we could get this huge payout, Jeanie Buss being the governor of the Lakers is like, nah, she's got that executive authority apparently, right, to just shut the deal down completely. And that's what she did, man. I'm trying to find the guy's name. Mark Walters, I believe, was his name. I want to make sure I get his name right because he's kind of in the middle of all this. He's the one who it got sold to for $10 billion, and he's the one who's turning around and trying to sell it to Kushner and Iger for $12.5 billion, right? He's a smart man. In 1 year, he flipped the deal on the Lakers for $2.5 billion, right? Which right now should be going in his pocket and probably his lawyer's pocket ultimately because he's under federal investigation right now. But that's pretty good for Mark Walters. I give him credit. He was able to buy the Lakers for $10 billion last year from Jeanie Buss and then flip it for $12.5 billion 1 year later. So Jeanie Buss is like, nah, we want that money. They want that money. And so I've been trying to get some breakdowns. I've been listening a lot to the people that Pat McAfee has had on his show because he's had some pretty good back and forth people coming on there with their insights. And it was interesting to hear the take on, I guess, ultimately the total amount of control, right? I didn't realize that the Buss family split their shit up into 5s, but if you watch the series that they put out on Netflix about Legacy, the true story of the Los Angeles Lakers docuseries, it was on Hulu, like it kind of explained the entire history of the Lakers since like the 80s. And a lot of it focused on the family, right? Jerry Buss and his kids. And if you watch the entire series, you see Jerry Buss, he gives each of his kids like responsibilities as far as owning teams. He gave one of his sons the WNBA. Jeanie Buss, he gave partial control of the Lakers. He had a couple other he had another son who had control of something and another daughter who had control of something as well, right? So in the series, you kind of see Jerry Buss setting his kids up for success and kind of challenging them to see who's going to be the one who actually takes over the Los Angeles Lakers in the long run. And now I understand, seeing how that show played out, why he did that, right? He was testing each of his kids to see which ones was going to be able to handle the pressure of running the Los Angeles organization when he left. And Jeanie Buss was the one who proved the best, right? So she took the responsibilities that was given to her and she ran with it. And she's continued to run with it, right? Like now she's also part owners with the Women of Wrestling organization that's shown late at night, right? Where it's like all women's pro wrestling. And so I understand Jeanie Buss trying to hold on to the team, but for her to take the money out of the pockets of her siblings right now, it kind of seems selfish as it seems selfish as fuck because according to what I heard, Jeanie Buss's governorship that she signed last year when she sold the Lakers to Mark Walters, it was for 5 years, right? So Jeanie Buss has a contract to be the governor of the Lakers until 2030, which means that she can be getting really, really high paychecks for the next 5 years, right? If you count this year included. And so that's where some of the controversy is coming in. That's where my eyes are kind of like, man, why is she really doing this? Is she just trying to maintain a particular lifestyle that she's gotten accustomed to over the years? Because, like, if they were to split the money profit from the sale of the Lakers, they would still be making like over $30 million each. And with the clause that they have, it's like a last man standing clause, apparently, to where if one of those siblings passes away before the Laker organization gets sold, their percentage gets chopped up between the rest of the siblings, right? It doesn't necessarily go to their family members like the son and the wife or daughter and whatnot. It seems to be split between the brothers and sisters, right? But I don't know the legalities and all that stuff, right? So I don't want to put in too much information on that. But it is true that Jeanie Buss is governor until 2030 with that deal that she signed with Mark Walter. Yeah, that's his name. This is a smart guy, man. He flipped the Lakers for $2.5 billion and almost walked away with $2.5 billion payout, right? But Jeanie Buss, she's gonna get her lawyers. She's gonna be like, nah, nah, nah. We want some of that money, right? And I feel bad for the dude because dude's under federal investigation. All of his money, like that 2.5, straight up going into the lawyers' pockets, right? I don't know who the law firm is, but it was just interesting to see how Jeanie Buss is really taking over control of this whole entire organization, right? And so when I reported on it last week, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's sold. You know, Disney bought the Lakers. Lakers are now owned by the Mouse." And so this is kind of like my step back. Like, all right, it's not a done deal yet, apparently, right? One of you guys was watching. Hey, thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate it too, man. Like, comment, and subscribe, man. One of y'all was listening last week and y'all chimed in and you were like, "Hey, man, the check hasn't been signed yet." And I was like, "Oh man, I don't know. That's not what I read." But you called it. You called it, buddy. You know, like you were right. The check was not signed, and man. Some other interesting stuff we're going to talk about though, because I'm still waiting on updates with the Lakers organization. Right, there's still new news coming out, and apparently it's really gonna go to court. You know, these guys really going to take it to court. But some other entertaining sports news that's happening out there was that Ray J fight. Ray J versus Orlando Brown. Right? They're doing this celebrity boxing stuff now, and it's legit. These guys ain't these guys ain't playing around. They're trying to find legit low list celebrities and put them in the match and fight each other. I've seen the Island Boys fight each other now. I seen one of the Island Boys fight like another streamer guy, and they had Dana White on commentary at the time, which was an amazing crossover, right? To see Dana White trying to get into this whole entire like fighting atmosphere as far as celebrity fighting goes. You know, is he going to come in and try and venture and buy this shit out? I don't know. But anyways, it was brought to us by the Zeus Network, partnered with Salida Promotions, right? So Ray J versus Orlando Brown. I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but I saw highlights and clips. I thought it was pretty funny seeing these old guys just go in there and kind of stumble around the ring and try and throw some punches, right? Like obviously it wasn't being taken serious. And if they were training, the training that they got was probably just for stamina purposes, right? I'm surprised that Orlando Brown was able to have the stamina to last 3 rounds, but that's all it did go was 3 rounds. Ray J wins it in a third round decision. Um, seeing the part where Ray J kind of falls out and pulls Orlando Brown to the ground when Orlando Brown is acting all crazy like a crazy monkey Wolverine, right, jumping around, acting all weird and shit, and then Ray J just kind of goes and grabs him and is like, all right, we're gonna go to the ground now, right, and they go to the ground. But it's weird to see the differences between the two, right? Ray J 45 years old, Orlando Brown 38 years old, right? Ray J 5'9", Orlando Brown 5'7". Ray J 184, Orlando Brown, he didn't give his weight. So, these are older guys out here just trying to make a payday, apparently. And so they probably made a little payday. I'm sure it's not as much money as they're making in like the UFC or with most valuable promotions. But I mean, for these guys to kind of just be sitting on the sideline of life, not really doing too much at all, it seems like they got a pretty good payday. I also learned Ray J, right? His real name, William Ray Norwood Jr. It's a long ass name. So like I was saying though, Dana White, he did make an appearance at one of these promotions. I'm interested to see if maybe Dana White might invest some money. I mean, if Dana White's the type of person who's going to invest money into slap fighting, and then maybe he might be the type of guy who will invest money into celebrity fighting, right? So we'll see about that. Now, what I wanted to do is just kind of get into some millennial moment stuff, right? So I'm a millennial. I'm an OG millennial, right? If you break down the millennials, I'm at the top of that millennial list, right? If millennial starts in 1981, I'm in 82, so I'm an OG millennial, right? So I'm going to talk about millennial shit because that's what I'm about, right? Hayden Panettiere passed away. Can never get her last name right. Sad though. It's sad to see Hayden pass away. Hayden, I remember Hayden from Heroes primarily. I was a big Heroes fan. When the Heroes saga came out, she was the cheerleader who had the indestructible body, right? She was able to heal herself. She fell off and broke her neck, right? She was able to fix her neck, and pretty much she couldn't die. And so to see the irony of her passing away at such a young age, it's really sad, in my particular mind, because here it is. She played and portrayed such a strong role and character in Heroes, and then to turn around and die, right? So she's lived a pretty eventful life, though, for someone who passed away in her 30s, right? I mean, she's been in entertainment and in the public eye since she was 11 months old, right? In commercials. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to try and take a little bit of dive into her past, her background. I'm going to name some of the movies that you might have seen her in, give a little bit of information to how she passed away. There's still an investigation happening with Hayden's death. Apparently, a boyfriend and a boyfriend's brother might be involved. There was a can of Narcan apparently was found on the property, and they said that they're doing an investigation on why they had it and who brought it, who initially used it. Was there multiple overdoses and just all types of stuff? And TMZ is where I'm getting most of this news from, right? So if you've seen TMZ at all, then you know what I'm talking about, right? You've seen some of this stuff yourself. But so there's a huge investigation going on. She was 36 years old. She was 5 days away from her birthday, sadly enough, right? If in 5 more days she would have been turning 36 years old, and they're claiming that it's a drug overdose, but they are going to do an autopsy apparently. So we'll wait on the report. Wait on the report on that. She won me over, like I said, with her role on the TV show Heroes. Heroes was a great show. She was one of the leading characters on that, but she's also done other shows like Nashville. She was in that dancing movie Bring It On. I also remember her briefly from Remember the Titans, right? That was an old school G movie. She was in Scream 6, Scream 4, Raising Helen. Apparently, she had a role on Malcolm in the Middle. Now, I was a big Malcolm in the Middle fan. I don't remember seeing her on there. I don't remember which character she portrayed, but her first major role was on a soap opera. Apparently, it was One Life to Live, and she she was like 5 years old, right? From 1994 to 1997, this 5-year-old kid, right, is being groomed on a soap opera, on one of the most number one soap operas during the 90s, right? So her whole entire life has kind of been in the public spotlight. And I could only imagine what type of pressure that brings, seeing how many other people have grown up in the public spotlight from a young age and where they're at now as millennials, older millennials, right? And even Gen Xers, right? I could think of like some of the older school movies were like Corey Haim and Corey Feldman and that whole like Gen X generation of young actors like Joaquin Phoenix and you know those motherfuckers right there, like that. Those Stand By Me people, right? Like those guys, they got some stories too. But that's the Gen X stories. I'm a millennial, so this relates more to me, right? So even though she landed that role on that soap opera One Life to Live, she didn't stop there. You know, she continued to make movies and TV shows from there all the way on. So it doesn't surprise me that she struggled with like intoxicants and alcohol, right? If you look at a lot of the Hollywood people out there, like look at Lindsay Lohan for a great example, or even Paris Hilton, all these people who are in Hollywood and have fallen into the Hollywood lifestyle and been shaped and cultivated since youth, you know, always tend to kind of go into the route of drinking and narcotics. And I feel bad because like it's been happening for a long time. I can't remember the name of the guy right now who died outside of that club, Johnny Depp's club. He's the brother of Joaquin Phoenix, though, right? He was the guy in Stand By Me. It's kind of where like light really started. If you guys, hey, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys know the name, chime in with that name. Joaquin Phoenix's brother who passed away in front of Johnny Depp's club, man. Like, how come we keep losing the young people to these drugs and narcotics, right? I think there might be something going on in Hollywood behind the scenes, the lifestyle that they're trying to maintain. Because it seems like when you got that money, your stress should leave, right? You're supposed to have accomplished the heights of the pinnacle in Hollywood, right? And yet you can't even make it past 36 years old, right? We're celebrating Tupac right now. They got the investigations of the Tupac trial happening 30 years after the man passes away. They're finally going to trial on it. But even him, he was a guy, he didn't even make it past, it was like in his 20s, man. So it's sad to see these youngsters passing away, man. But for us here at Millennial Moment, we do want to honor her. I want to take this time and honor you, Hayden, right? I appreciate your contributions to Hollywood. You entertained me in a lot of these movies. Remember the Titans was a great movie. I loved Heroes, right? So those were just some things that you contributed to my life. And so I thank you for that. And just to kind of keep on with the Millennial Moment segment right now, I'm going to flash back on a man named Fred Durst. You know, I might remember this group back in the days called Limp Bizkit, right? Like, it's kind of. I don't want to just go from a sad moment to a happy moment. We're going to do that right now. We're going to try and liven it up right now with some Limp Bizkit stuff because Limp Bizkit held it down for the '90s and the 2000s for millennials, right? I was bumping that stuff back then in high school. And I'm still bumping it now for the times where I go out to the gym and get my workout on, right? Like he got that good, energetic, like uplifting music, right? That'll get your blood pumping. So I got some info on him. We're going to talk about some of the top songs he made. I got some awards that he won. Uh, Jacksonville, Florida, straight out of Jacksonville, right? 40 million records sold worldwide, won over several awards. This guy, Fred Durst. Apparently, it's called new metal, rap metal, or rap rock, right? So that's what the actual term for his genre of music was called. I thought it was just like kind of hardcore alternative music overall, ultimately, though. He did do a huge crossover with Method Man. That was one of the best crossovers that I've heard in a long time. But that was just one of the songs. One of the things I found out that was shocking when I was doing this research was Cash Money, man. I did not know that Fred Durst was he they signed to Cash Money Records, man. These guys was working with Lil Wayne and Cash Money and Birdman and all them, man. Is that where they were getting some of their beats from the whole time? I had no idea. I had no idea. So here are some of the songs. Let's see if you guys remember any of these songs, man, that we were listening to from Limp Bizkit. These are just 10 of their top songs. I'm sure you guys, I only remember like 5 or 6 of these songs, but they're standout songs, right? And I'm not going to play them because I'm not going to get flagged, right? But when I chop this up and do videos, I'm going to try and do the little sound clips with the music over it because you can't censor me on that, right? YouTube, you're providing me with the music yourself. So anyways, Break Stuff was a cool one, aggressive. I remember rolling, right? That was a dope one. A High Energy Club. Nookie was a dope one. Did it all for the nookie. What? The nookie. What? So you can take that cookie and stick it up, right? Like, oh, is that I think he did that with corn. Is that what corn he did that with? Uh some other ones, My Way was a huge hit during the 90s and 2000s. It's kind of one of those more cruising type of so you think you can fly type of songs, right? That Limp Bizkit was dropping at that time. Some other ones, Rearranged, Take a Look Around, Faith, Boiler, My Generation, right? That was a dope ass song. Counterfeit, These are all different songs that Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit dropped that topped the charts. He did win some awards too. They got the American Music Award. They won the favorite alternative artist back in 2002. Limp Bizkit here, MTV Video Music Awards, won Best Rock Video for Break Stuff in 2000, and the Best Rock Video for Rollin' in 2001. Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit, they got the Blockbuster Entertainment Award, won Favorite Modern Rock Group. MTV Europe Award, won Best Group. They got some nominations. Got a Grammy nomination, MTV Video Music Awards nomination, but it does not look like they won any of those. So sadly, it does not look like he took home no Grammy. I don't remember him getting an Emmy either for anything, but he does put out hits. If you guys want to listen to his music, man, you know you could find his music anywhere, right? Limp Bizkit, man. I'm still bumping them. I got them on my Pandora when I'm driving home from work sometimes and I'm stuck in that traffic and I just need to like let that fucking rage out, man. I open it up. I let Limp Bizkit, I let Korn take over, I let Tool take over, right? I let this whole new age rock or whatever they call it, kind of take over this what do they call that style? New metal. There we go. Right. And if you're gonna go work out, listen to this stuff because working out with this stuff is cool too. It'll get your blood going, it'll get your blood flowing, make you want to hit the weights a little bit longer, right? So just to flip over now, we did some music stuff from the Millennial Nation days, right? Back in the 90s, 2000s, was listening to Limp Bizkit. We was also in the 90s watching football. I personally was watching the San Francisco 49ers because I am a San Francisco 49er fan. And I'm going to dedicate this Millennial moment right now to the great Jerry Rice. That's right, legendary Jerry Rice, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, has set so many records, has acquired so many accolades, right? I'm going to name all of them, and it's going to take me like a minute because the list is long. But first, I just want to talk about Jerry Rice and his personal impact he had on my life because he's the reason why I watched football to begin with. First time I watched football was like back in the 80s, late 80s, right? It was the 49ers, had Joe Montana, had a young Jerry Rice, Craig, right? They had that Craig guy. It was holding it down, man. They didn't win Super Bowls, right? Not too many, but they got 5. And Jerry Rice was responsible for like 3 of them, maybe 4 of them. Can't remember exactly how many, but Jerry Rice, man, this guy's been catching passes for a long, long time. And so this is some of the stuff that he's accomplished, man. He has set records as far as team longevity, man. He would play with the San Francisco 49ers for 15 years straight, right? So that's dedication to a team right there, 15 years. And then you might remember he kind of went over to Oakland, played for the Raiders for a little bit, played for the Seahawks for a year, ended his career in Denver. His accolades, man, this guy has won so much shit, man. Like 3-time Super Bowl champion, Jerry Rice right here. 2-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year, 1987-93, Jerry Rice. 10-time first team All-Pro, Jerry Rice. Second team All-Pro. 13-time Pro Bowler. 2-time NFL receptions leader. 6-time NFL receiving yards leader, right? So we're talking about Jerry Rice here. If you want to talk about a GOAT, right? The greatest of all time. Jerry Rice is the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. Especially when you look at just the wide receiver position, right? Some people think the wide receiver position should go to like a Randy Moss, right? I heard them talking about it on the Pat McAfee show. They were kind of going back and forth, giving their opinions on who they thought the GOAT was for football. A lot of them were shocked that D-Butt would pick a wide receiver as opposed to a quarterback. But if you broke them down and you took the quarterback position out of it completely, you could understand how a GOAT conversation between wide receivers, running backs, linemen, defensive linemen would probably end with Jerry Rice being the greatest of all time. So, and that's what it is. Jerry Rice, greatest of all time. Like, comment, and subscribe if you think that's true. If not, like, comment, and subscribe anyway. This Millennial Nation worldwide. And so some more accolades, right? Because this guy was putting in work, man. 16-time receiving touchdowns leader, 6-time NFL receiving yards leader, 1990s All-Decade Team, 1990s All-Decade Team, 75th Anniversary All-Time Team, NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team. Like, I don't even know what these awards are. He's won so many awards that I don't even know what these awards are, where they're from, how long he got them, or when he got them, right? Like PFW NFL MVP, PFWA All Rookie Team. Like, what the hell does that even mean, right? I don't even know what that means. I do know what this means, though. San Francisco 49ers Hall of Famer. That's right, retired. Two-time first team AA All-American, Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils, retired. His career receptions, 1,549 career receptions, 22,895 receiving yards. Fuck, man. 2,245 receiving yards in the playoffs alone. We're talking Jerry Rice right now. The career receiving touchdowns in the playoffs, 22 touchdowns in the playoffs, right? Career total touchdowns overall, 208. Career total touchdowns in playoffs, 22. Career all purpose yards, 23,546 all purpose yards, Jerry Rice. Career all purpose yards, man, 2,289. Most career Super Bowl receptions, 33. So here is a huge list of stats from Jerry Rice. And the reason why I think Jerry Rice is the Millennial Moments GOAT, right? Like this guy's been holding it down with the 49ers for 15 years, has won multiple Super Bowls, has set multiple records that still have yet to be touched by any wide receiver, right? So I do give other receivers credit. Like Randy Moss is a great wide receiver, right? More receivers playing right now that have an opportunity to pass these records that I just named off. But you guys let me know who you think is going to hold it down, man. Hey, hello, how you doing? Uh, you guys let me know if you're even watching football, right? Are you guys into football at all? Because it's preseason right now. It's getting ready to start up again, right? The 49ers just got a preseason win against the Chargers. So if you guys are fans of that at all, man, chime in and let me know. And then just a couple other things I wanted to talk about because I was talking about how like the Lakers got sold and then they didn't get sold, and we were talking about Hayden, rest in peace, and some of the movies that she dropped. We talked about Ray J and Orlando Brown, man. Y'all watch that fight at all, man? That was a crazy fight. These guys looking like dweebs. But I'm a huge wrestling fan here too. So what I do sometimes is I do like a critique of this Monday Night Raw and A.E.W. Dynamite, and I mash them up against each other and see who won between the two, right? And so that's something I've kind of consistently been doing. A lot of wrestling fans out there have been appreciating that. And so that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna try and make it quick because I know not everybody's into wrestling. And then if you guys watch in the future, I'm thinking I'm going to get on here and I might do a watch along because I was watching SummerSlam 1992 that they had at Wembley in London because of Bret Hart and Daveyboy Smith back in the day, and it was a really great match. And so I wanted to do a watch along on that and just kind of like refresh it because we got some folks from AEW that are getting ready to head over to Wembley and put on a show. And they did it before, and they said that they drew more money than this one did back in 92 when they brought in over 80,000 people to Wembley, right? So just to start this off, I didn't think AEW was that great this week. They tried. I give them credit for trying. They started off with Will Ospreay and the United Empire, right? They had a fight against Don Callis family. It was meh. Okada came out, cut a promo. Tony Schiavone, it was Fletcher cut a promo, meh. Transformers started talking over Excalibur. That's right. So I was watching this show, and you got the commentators. They start talking, and all of a sudden there was like disruption in the microphone. It sounded like Transformers started talking and completely cut out the segment. So that was kind of weird. And I wanted to know if that happened on other people's TVs too. If anybody was watching and you saw that, let me know, or if that was just my television. And we had Ospreay. They went to a separate interview with Kenny Omega in the back with Renee. It was a pre-recorded interview, and I like this Kenny Omega. I like this cocky, arrogant Kenny Omega, kind of condescending. I didn't know too much about this guy from New Japan and all that stuff overseas, so I don't watch that shit. Like I watch what's here in America, and that's WWE. So getting to see this side of Kenny Omega is kind of interesting because I didn't know this guy kind of had this jerkiness in him, right? He played a bad guy earlier, but his bad guyness was because he was with a bad guy manager and had a bad guy group, right? So now that he's kind of on his own, he's like a dick, right? This guy's an asshole. And it's cool. He deserves to be an asshole because he's Kenny Omega, but like I wish I would have seen more of this at an earlier stage, right? I would have watched more of his matches probably. Now, they had a really good back and forth. Ospreay brought up COVID, right? And they started talking about COVID and whatnot because they had the big pandemic shut down. and it affected wrestling, right? And this guy was wrestling over there in Japan, and he's saying, "Oh, it affected us differently in Japan." And the other guy is like, and Kenny Omega's like, "Oh, well, it affected us here in America too." Yada yada yada. And these guys are like arguing over the COVID pandemic shutdown, and that's when I was kind of like, "Oh man, these guys kind of going off the rails here, man." But anyways, they ended that and they went into a three or a four-way rather with the ladies. Maya World, Sheeta, Persephone, and Statlander had a four-way match. Uh, I don't even remember who won because it was kind of boring. I started looking at my phone. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. No disrespect. It's just hard to pay attention when stuff's not exciting, right? And so they went to another promo. Now, this was an exciting match. They had a match between Jay White and John Moxley, the former Dean Ambrose. And it was a good back and forth, right? I see why people like Jay White. He's another guy I don't know anything about. He came over from Japan as well. So it's cool to see these people who I've never seen really fight before, right? Hearing them talk is a little bit different. But Jay White was a good match against John Moxley. The ending was terrible though, because they ruined it by having a whole bunch of guys come out, and it looked like there was going to be something happening with Jay White, maybe joining John Moxley, right? It looked like he took a knee and wanted to kind of join, like the Death Riders and John Moxley, but then you got 20 guys who come out to the ring and just start talking trash, right? Like Adam Page and his group comes out, Ricochet and his group comes out, and then the other group with Ricochet comes out, and there's like 15, 20 people out here now surrounding the stage, and only two people are talking to each other. And so I'm just wondering to myself, like, why are they trying to get all these people on television, right? So it's weird stuff, man. I would call them nobodies, but I don't want to call them nobodies because a lot of people know who they are. I don't know who a lot of these people are, though. So for me, I'm not super excited about it because I don't know who a lot of these people are. But I do know Mercedes Monet and I do know Willow. She gave a pretty good interview. It turned into a brawl backstage. I like seeing Mercedes Monet go against Willow because it kind of seems like they're real, but I didn't like how it took three grown men to try and hold back Mercedes Monet, right? When you got three grown ass referee men, adult security men, and they can't hold back a 120-pound, 5'6" girl. Stupid as hell, man. I don't like seeing shit like that. Like Willow, I get. Like, if Willow is a bigger girl, she like 140 probably, and it would make sense to see a couple guys trying to hold this bigger girl back from just beating the shit out of this little tiny girl, right? But to see three grown men struggle to hold this little tiny girl back is just, it's not believable. And then they went to a match with Nigel McGuinness, who is a commentator, and a guy named Hechicero. Now, this guy Hechicero, I like him. He's a luchador from Mexico, CMLL. He's like a technical luchador. He's got a lot of good technical moves. And then McGuinness won it. He won it with like a crazy submission. He choked him out. What the hell are you doing, cat? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, stop that. Hey, I got water. Don't make me. I'll crinkle the water bottle. You better stop. Yeah, that's right. Don't look at me like. Anyways, cat. I got a cat. He's over there. He's distracting me. Stop distracting me, cat. Kevin Knight came down with an interview, right? The show seemed like it was very long. Like you hear all this shit. I've been talking for like 5 minutes already, and I'm barely halfway through the card, right? And so imagine trying to watch this to take notes, right? It's very difficult sometimes. So, anyways, Kevin Knight comes out. Darby Allin comes down. Pyro blows up on Darby. He gets a chair drop kicked into his face. And then Sting's son comes out, right? So apparently Sting and his sons are trying to get into wrestling, I guess. Don Fallis family comes out. And they fight with the Elite and Omega. And this was their main event. Apparently they had an overrun on this show. The overrun went like almost 30 minutes, apparently. So it's hard to tell with an overrun when you're watching on HBO Max because you kind of are like, it's not the same as watching it on cable where like, all right, the next show is supposed to start at this time, so it's this time and the next show starts, right? That shit doesn't happen on HBO Max, which is where I watch it. But let's see. So yeah, the Elite, Edge and Adam Copeland with the save. While the crowd sings, Christian Cage joins, Young Bucks super kick Christian. Oh yeah, that was the interesting part. That's right. So they're setting up for the big tag team match between the Young Bucks and Edge and Christian. That should be pretty good. But I'm wondering if they're setting up for the Young Bucks becoming assholes like Kenny Omega has become. see if they start going down the road of being bad guys again, because they've spent the last 4 to 5 months, maybe even longer, maybe even the entire year, now that I think about it, trying to transform themselves back into good guys to have a better standing with the crowd. Now that Kenny Omega's going back to being a bad guy, maybe he's going to go back to being a bad guy as well. So it'll be interesting to see there what happens with that. But it took an opportunity for Ospreay to come out since Kenny Omega was already down in the ring. And, Kenny Omega started being a jerk again. I was just being a jerky jerk the whole time, man. And it ended up with a one-winged angel through a table outside of the ring. Right, so this guy picks him up, puts him over his head, slams him down like that from the ring to a table on the outside of the ring. Right. In most cases, I would break somebody's neck and send somebody to a hospital, but in professional wrestling, they've learned how to do it to where it doesn't kill someone, apparently. So now that we go on to WWE, I give WWE credit this week. They had a pretty good show on Monday Night Raw. It seemed like they had more matches on WWE Monday Night Raw, even though all of the matches seemed to be revolving around luchador matches. Even the matches that didn't have luchadors in them had like the luchador style, right? There were smaller guys, a lot of jumping around, a lot of acrobatics. Um, they started off the show Monday Night Raw with Stephanie Vaquer. She calls out Liv Morgan. Morgan and the Judgment Day come out. They beat up Vaquer. Becky saves them, and then Judgment Day beats up everyone. And so that's how they started off Monday Night Raw. The Usos got a backstage segment. They're back there with Solo and the Bloodline interaction with LA Knight. And then Javon Evans comes out and has a match with JD McDonough. It was a good slap, right? They were slapping the hell out of each other momentarily. So that was, hey, like, comment, share, and subscribe, man. Like that. But it was all set up for Big Cass to come out, right? Javon Evans hits a huge finisher, his finisher off the corner turnbuckle, and then he gets beat up by a big guy named Cass. Javon Evans calls him back to the ring, right? Big Cass turns around, starts coming back down to the ring. Javon Evans starts beating up this guy who's like twice his size. But then Dirty Dominic runs Evans into the ring post, right? And then Cass comes back, beats him up a little bit more. Then they go into the Luchador tournament, right? There's a match with Roman Reigns. Ray Phoenix fought against this guy named Fiscal. It was my first time seeing Ray Phoenix on WWE since he fights over there on SmackDown, right? I don't really watch SmackDown because I don't have regular television or cable, and they don't show it on streaming services that I have. So, Phoenix wins. Lyra had a match against Srl. And the announcers kept bringing up Bayley, right? So a lot of people right now are talking about Bayley being on the outskirts with WWE and getting ready to leave to the competition A.E.W. But if that were going to happen, why do the announcers keep on talking about Bayley every week? Right? I would think that they would stop talking about her and drop her altogether, like they've done with so many other, wrestlers in the past that have moved on out of their contracts to the competition, right? But instead, these guys, they're bringing her up every week. They're reiterating the fact that Bayley is there, even though she's not there. So I do like what's happening with Lyra, this new persona that she has, right? That she's taken on. I kind of like it. She's looking crazy. She looks like a crazy psycho lady who needs sleep and has abused alcohol and drugs, but she's probably straight edge. She's getting good though, right? Like I like this whole crazy look she got going on, but she lost, and it was sad to see her lose because I thought she was gonna be making a comeback, right? And she didn't make a comeback, but the Usos run into Jacob and Jay, and they talk trash to Jacob in the back. Then they shoot to a bunch of Buffalo Bills players, right? And Buffalo Bills players were in the stands, right? In the Vision, they got an interview. It's not good. Logan Paul, I'm wondering what they're doing with Logan Paul right now because he seems to be taking a backseat completely. He's not really even doing much talking anymore. Braun, though, on the other hand, when he goes to the ring, right? He calls out Obafemi. They're building up a lot of interest and intrigue with this competition right now over who's going to be the real future of the product, right? Braun Breaker or Obafemi. So, Braun Breaker goes out to the ring. He calls out Obafemi because he wants to solve this problem, right? And instead of getting Obafemi, he gets Paul Heyman. So Paul Heyman comes out, ladies and gentlemen, right? And then so he goes to the ring. Braun Breaker asks Heyman who he thinks the future is, and then of course, right on time before Paul Heyman could give his answer. Obafemi's music plays, right? So, Oba, Oba is what the crowd starts chanting, Oba, right? Because this guy's a beast, and his music backs him up. So they go to the ring, and then Obafemi and Braun Breaker, they start having a back and forth, right? Paul Heyman jumps in there and stops them from fighting each other, says he made a match for Sunday night main event, right? So that might be a good show. They haven't put on a decent premium live event in a while, in my opinion, with a great main event headliner. And this seems like it might be a great main event headliner for the main event show, right? So Paul shakes Oba's hand at the end before he leaves the ring, though, and Braun Breaker trips out because Paul Heyman is supposed to be on the side with Braun Breaker, right? But he sees him shaking hands with his enemy, his opponent, and so he's baffled by that and taken back. So they move on. Rey Mysterio and Chad Gable, they have a fight for the Intercontinental Championship. Rey Mysterio, man, he still got it, man. Rey Mysterio still got it. Dude, he's good, man. For his age, I mean, he got to be pushing like 50 at least. I've been watching him since the 90s. He had to be in his 20s in the 90s. I'm in my mid 40s. He's got to be at least 10 years older than me, right? His 50s, mid 50s maybe. He's jumping around doing all these crazy acrobatic moves still. Rey Mysterio, crazy. The match was pretty good. It's pretty good back and forth. I think that the biggest part of it was Gable getting the win because the crowd was cheering for Rey Mysterio a lot. It seemed like they could have gone in the direction of giving Rey Mysterio the belt and then let him take the belt over there to AAA in Mexico where he's doing a lot of the managing and stuff and spending a lot of time. But instead they kept it on Chad Gable, which is cool. And then we get to the main event. And this is pretty much the emphasis of the entire show, right? Revolving back around the bloodline, right? It show kind of opened up with the bloodline, in the middle had the bloodline, and now it's ending with the big conclusion of the Usos bringing Solo Sikoa, their younger brother, to Roman Reigns to submit to the tribal chief. And this was a 20-minute segment, and it was a entertaining 20-minute soap opera for Family Feud, right? And that's exactly what it was, right? So they show Roman, he pulls up in the back, he hops out with Jacob Fatu, goes to the ring. Usos come out, bring Solo to the ring. All 5 blood members in the ring. Looks good, right? They start disrespecting Solo big time. Roman Reigns starts punking Solo, breaks his glasses. Jacob beats him up a little bit, and then they stop, right? Roman stops them. They do a little celebration for the Usos where Roman Reigns gives the twins the little Ulafala chains, right? And then you see Jacob in the background kind of angry because he didn't get one. And then the whole time, too, for the last 2 weeks, you see this back and forth competition between Jacob and Jay about who's better, right? Who's really holding it down and shit. So you see the turmoil building a little bit as this guy sees these other two getting a reward and he's getting nothing, right? And so, as Solo Sikoa is getting punked out or whatever, he kind of gets saved by LA Knight. LA Knight comes down to the ring, gets in Roman Reigns' face. Jacob Fatu comes in with the attack to try and save the tribal chief, and the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, stops his brother or his cousin, Jacob Fatu, scolds his brother, Jacob Fatu, and then goes to Superman punch LA Knight, right? And then it starts to get entertaining, right? A lot of people are making statements and tracing back to the other Bloodline segments when they had Sami Zayn and how they're just reiterating the same storyline with just different people. And it kind of played out that way, right? So you got Solo Sikoa, and Roman Reigns telling Solo Sikoa, all right, man, you need to go on ahead and knock out LA Knight right now, right? And instead of Solo Sikoa knocking out LA Knight, he takes the thumb, bam, right there in Roman Reigns' neck, knocks out his cousin Roman Reigns. And so that's kind of exactly what happened with Sami Zayn, right? Roman Reigns wanted Sami Zayn to beat up his friend Kevin Owens with a chair. Sami Zayn didn't beat up his friend Kevin Owens with a chair. Instead, took the chair to the back of Roman Reigns, right? And so they replayed that a little bit differently, but they ran it back, right? As my boy Jay was like, they ran it back again, right? And so that's what they did. Solo Sikoa drops Roman Reigns. You see Jacob Fatu standing in the corner just watching the whole thing because he was told, right? Roman Reigns, he scolded him. He said, hey, man, don't you do anything. And so he sat in the corner right there the whole time watching what his arms forward, didn't do nothing, right? And so, LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, they leave the ring. Roman Reigns gets up all sad and salty and stuff, leaves the ring looking at Jacob Fatu, and they end the program. And so ultimately, this show is pretty much 5 cruiserweight matches, 1 women's match, a bunch of talking, an Obafemi Braun Breaker promo, and a Bloodline promo. Those 2 promos stole the show. And so when I look at these 2 products that are going against each other, I'm giving the win to Raw on this one for sure, man. Like, not only did they put up more matches, which is what a lot of people have been complaining about, like they put out 6 matches probably, because if you watch on Netflix here in the United States, they normally have a match that they don't show us for some reason. But the promos is what sends Raw over the top every single time. And that's what makes WWE such a tremendous product that brings in so many viewers, even though they're overcharging us crazy, is the fact that they can have people go out there and just talk, talk for 15, 20, 30 minutes and hold an audience, right? I give them all the credit. They're way better than me, right? I love you guys who are watching. You guys jumping in, you jumping out, the numbers going up, going down. Sometimes we're at 0, sometimes we're at 15. All I know is that if I keep on putting out this product, hopefully it will do better, like these guys have done. They keep on putting it out there. And so the more you do it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more people want to be entertained by it. So that's my critique on the wrestling for this week, right? I give it up to Monday Night Raw. They had a better show than AEW this week. Be interesting to see where they go with this upcoming week because they got that pay-per-view coming up. One thing for my people here in LA, all my LA friends, millennials here in LA, I got an update on that Boyle Heights warehouse fire. It's probably not going to matter too much to the rest of the world out there, but here in Los Angeles, back in June, we had a huge fire. It was a mega warehouse owned by Lineage Logistics in Boyle Heights that stored thousands and millions of pounds of food, frozen food, raw meats, cat food. And when I did the research for it, they also have chemicals there. They store hazmat chemicals there and pharmaceutical drugs because it's a cold storage warehouse, right? So this is where they're storing all of your cold storage products. Now, when I originally did a report on this last month, they had a deadline. And the reason why I did the report was because of the deadline. They said that they had until August 15th, I think it was, right? 50 days inevitably. They gave this company 50 days to clean up the debris left over from the fire and the millions and millions of pounds of food that were just there rotting. And Lineage Logistics, they missed it. They missed the deadline. They did not get a court ordered summons or anything like that I heard of. I haven't heard anything about them being drawn into court, right? Like, I know the EPA has been on them a little bit, but I don't know how much the fines are for them having rotting food in the middle of a city that's just 5 to 10 miles away from downtown LA and just a few miles away from the LA River, where they have food that's just rotting. Still, after 50 days, they have not cleaned it up. Lineage Logistics has missed the deadline. So here are some of the products that were stored there that I did the reporting on prior, right? Tyson frozen food products, frozen chicken patties, frozen popcorn chicken, hot wings, chicken strips, General Mills cold storage foods like Green Giant frozen vegetables, Totina pizza rolls, all those Pillsbury frozen pastries, yogurts, Go-Gurts, cinnamon rolls, Purina cat food. One of the manufacturers there is called Angimoto Frozen Foods. They make your chicken gyozas, pork chicken gyoza, the fried rice, frozen ramen meals. California Farms makes all of the almond milks. They make the flavored creams and coffees for your cakes and your sugary ice creams and all that shit. The Patagonia Provisions. They do your seafood products that the wealthy people are getting sent to them online through the mail, right? When those people get the big boxes of fish or the fancy boxes of meat, right? They're all stored here at Lineage Logistics Cold Storage. Uh, they stored food for Walmart and Cisco, and these are not only primarily based for lower income families, right, with Walmart, but the Cisco products that they stored there had to do with schools and hospitals. So a lot of the public schools and hospitals that get their frozen foods and their pre-made meals, right, were stored in this cold storage facility as well. So out of all of these things I just read, they're still there 50 days later rotting. So I just wanted to bring this up to shed light because it's not getting a lot of publicity in Los Angeles, let alone around the world. And the saddest thing about it is even when people do talk about the fact that Lineage Logistics missed the cleanup date and that all this food is rotting, nobody is talking about how close it is to the LA River. And when you have all that rotting food that's been rotting for over 50 days, the rats, the roaches, the mice, the vermin that all that food has been attracting, they're all going down into that LA River, I could imagine. Every time we get any type of rainstorms and there's runoff, that's got to be going into the LA River somehow. Because when I pulled it up on the map, literally, you have this warehouse, you have a little section of street, you have a little section of building, and then there's a huge LA River, right? So it could be a lot more dangerous than what people are letting on, and it could not be dangerous at all, and I could just be putting hype out there, but there is no hype in the fact that there's food out there that's just rotting right now. And it's been rotting for 50 days. And, you know, I don't smell it because I'm on the other side of Los Angeles, but it's got to be a health hazard for the people who live in and around Boyle Heights. Uh, you know, the smell of rancid meat and cat food, I couldn't imagine, man. So this has been a really long show. It's been a pretty good show. I want to thank everybody who's stuck around, liked, commented, and subscribed. I'm going to touch on the Mirror right now because they just had a LA Mirror debate. And so since I was talking about LA lineage logistics, I thought it would be cool to tie this in because it was something that was brought up in the debate. Right now we have LA Mayor Karen Bass and City Council member Nittany Rahman, and they're battling over who's going to be the next mayor. They had their debate, their first debate, uh, which is probably why all this extra stuff is happening to try and keep us distracted from the debates and elections, the midterm elections that are going to be happening here in a couple months. But anyways, they had a debate. I thought it was hilarious. They were spilling a lot of tea on the Democratic Party, I think. Like a lot of the stuff that Nittany Rahman was talking about that goes on behind the scenes as far as the people who are running city council and how it gets broken down. The city has to vote on shit, the county has to vote on stuff, and then the state has to vote on stuff, right? Like I didn't understand all of that stuff. So it was really interesting to see how they were able to go back and forth with each other. And I mean, Karen Bass, man, she had her claws out. I give Karen Bass some credit. Like I would have preferred Steve Pratt being up there, but Karen Bass, she didn't hold back, man. She had a couple moments on there where she went at Rahman hard, and it was mostly about the amount of time that Rahman has already spent on city council. And both of them were making accurate statements about each other. Both of them have been responsible for leading LA for over 4 to 8 years. And there hasn't been anything that's really been changing for the good, right? Karen Bass keeps on talking about housing projects and or not projects, but new housing that were brought up in zoning areas with horrible zoning, right? That was one of the questions I was asked her. And she kind of answered it by saying, yeah, well, we need that, right? And we do need that because LA needs to fix our homeless crisis. But, you know, at the same time, building 8-story condominium structures off of Jefferson and La Brea near the blue or the gold line isn't economical, right? Like most people in that neighborhood aren't going to be able to afford to live in those condos. And because of the positioning of the condos, you just made the traffic from Jefferson and La Brea terrible. Anybody who's driving down Jefferson Boulevard passing La Brea or even La Cienega, right, you're getting terrible traffic, right? So, and there's like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, it's on La Cienega. I'm tripping. There's like 3 or 4 of them that they're doing around LA now. And that's the housing that they're talking about that's being built here. They are building housing here, but the housing that they're doing is these huge mega buildings in these little tiny towns and cities and small streets, right? What they're also doing is they're turning apartments into or they're turning old offices into apartments. And for me personally, that's what I live in right now. The place I'm currently renting used to be an office, and on the other side of this wall right here is actually offices. And for me being a tenant living here, it's cool because hey, I could afford to live in Los Angeles, right? For the rent. But at the same time, when these guys' office hours start, it's like I'm working in the back office. So it's got its ups and downs, right? Sure, you could turn an office into an apartment building and have an extra housing unit for someone, but it's an incumbence on the person who's living there. Um, they did talk about some other things too, man, but it wasn't really like anything where they provided substantive answers, right? I didn't hear any answers to what they were going to do about the homeless crisis, about the taxes. They didn't even talk about gasoline prices. They didn't. The only time the fires in Malibu and Palisades were brought up was in response to Ramon just calling Karen Bass out on dropping the ball, right? And so it's interesting to see these two ladies go at it. I don't know who's going to win it, but I know that California and Los Angeles probably will not be better for it. But time will tell, I guess, right? They were talking about the budget. Bass is always talking about these solar lights, right? She started talking about solar lights again. She's taking all the copper wiring out of the old lights and she's replacing them with solar lights. And every time I hear this lady talk, she's always talking about solar lights. Who is selling this lady solar lights, or who has the contract that is telling her to talk about solar lights so much? Because every time she has a microphone, she's talking about solar lights. Also, what the hell are they doing with all the copper? If you're taking all of the copper out of the streetlights, are you selling the copper? Do you have street vendors out there that are offering you black market prices for this copper that you're just pulling out of all of our streetlights, right? To replace with solar lights? What's really going on, right? Like, copper's a valuable commodity. You could actually get copper and sell that shit and make some decent money, right? So what is that? One of the backroom deals that you're doing, Karen Bass, which is why you're talking about copper so much? Stop talking about solar lights. I'm in LA. I don't care about fucking solar lights, right? Fix my roads, drop my gas prices. Gas prices are back up to $5.99. I can't afford this shit, man. We just passed a law saying I have to have a certain amount of tread on my tires. If my tires here in Los Angeles don't meet the requirement of tread on the tire somehow, then I can't buy this tire. Or I get a ticket for having this tire, or like, what are the consequences of me having a tire that doesn't have a proper thread count? Who the hell determines what a fucking proper thread count on a tire is to begin with, right? So, these are my issues here, right? These fucking people getting up here talking about bullshit, right? They're not talking about the stuff that's affecting real LA people like me, man. And that's why we're leaving. So you keep on turning office buildings into apartments, right? And you'll get somebody like me. I got an apartment that used to be an office building. There's an office right on the other side of that wall. But I'm not happy here. And as soon as I get enough money to move out of here, I'm out of here. And if these are the only options that you're providing us here in LA is to be connected to an office or have to go move into a big 8-story condominium that nobody can afford anyway, on La Cienega and Jefferson, and block up all that traffic, then you're just being an asshole. I don't want to be here anyway, man. So that was their debate. I'm sure they're probably going to have more debates where they'll say absolutely nothing about nothing, but still take up an hour of our time, right? Just like I did. I took up an hour of my life here, 58 minutes. You guys who are watching and have watched and have given thumbs up, man, I thank you. Thank you for not only your time, but your likes and your thumbs up, right? Join, like, and subscribe. We're at 61 now, and we're growing, right? I started this earlier this year, just to kind of get my thoughts out there to, talk about stuff with other millennials, right? And I realized that I can't just hold myself to millennials, so this is for everyone. You're a Gen Xer, you're a Gen Zer, an Alpha, if you're even a baby boomer, right? Like, chime in, tell me what you're thinking about, man. We talked about a lot. If you're just tuning in right now, go back and watch the show when it gets edited. We talked about Limp Bizkit. We talked about Hayden Panettiere and her passing. We talked about Jerry Rice, man. We talked about wrestling. Talked about lineage, warehouse, food, fires, man. We're covering it all here on Millennial Nation worldwide, right? Millennial Nation worldwide, right? So tune in next week. I'm going to try and do these on Thursdays.